Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. My name's Kayla and I figured to end the year I'd do like a top 10 books of the year. I'm also gonna give like a couple of my kind of like storygraph stats. I don't know, I always like hearing that. So as of today, December 28th, I've read 48 books, which is crazy. Like, I don't think I've read that many books in a year since I was like 16. And yeah, so I'm hoping that over the next 3 days I can read another 2 books and make it 50, which would be very exciting. But if not, it's not a big deal. Like, my Goodreads goal for the year was 25, which, like, when I set that, I was like, that's crazy. And now here I am, like maybe I can do 50. Maybe I can like read a novella. But yeah, and so I've read almost 17,000 pages. I don't know like how it counts like audiobook pages or whatever, but yeah, 94% fiction, 6% nonfiction, which like makes sense. And then my top 3 genres were historical, romance, and mystery. I feel like a lot of them were like historical and romance, so like there's some overlap in those books there, but whatever. And then it's about like a 50-50 split between print and audio with only like a tiny bit of digital. And then my average star rating was a 4.22. And I think I'm like really generous with stars because I had 5 stars, like 12 out of 48 is like math. That's like a quarter of my books, I think, are like, wow. Is that true? I don't know. I loved them. I was having a great time. Anyway, yeah, my top 10 is kind of like the bottom 4 or 5 are kind of interchangeable. Any of the 12 books that I rated 5 stars could have been here, honestly. So, you know, that is what it is. But then I feel like I'm pretty firm in like what my top 5 are. So starting at the bottom, number 10 is In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado, which I've talked about a couple times. It's her memoir of a queer abusive relationship, and it was just really beautiful. And the way it's kind of told is like this dollhouse, this dream house, different rooms in it, little vignettes, and it's really beautiful and really heartbreaking to read. Obviously a story of an abusive relationship, and she's just like an absolutely amazing writer. So yeah, I was literally like laughing, crying, all of the above. And come here. Good girl. Can I pick you up? Oh. Look here. Look at you. You're so beautiful. This is the sweet baby angel Mars. She's sick right now, but she's so sweet. She wants me to put her down, but she won't fight me because she's so sweet. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, back to the books. Number 9 is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna, which tells the story of basically this girl, Lenny, who her family moves to Alaska and like the middle of nowhere, and her dad he's really dealing with a lot of like PTSD from Vietnam, and so it's kind of about that. He's like an alcoholic and abusive, and it's just really about that. But then it's so much more about Alaska and about kind of the beauty of Alaska and the like how dangerous it is, but how like when you kind of overcome the danger of it all, how much you can like love it and everything. And just this place that she hated, she ended up loving, and I just thought it was like so beautiful and so hopeful. And a lot of people like The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna better, and I totally get that. Like, I read that one first and it is absolutely like devastating, but I felt like it was almost like too depressing, that like there was no real hope in it, and this one I found like a lot of hope. So yeah, that's number 9. Number 8 is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. I actually listened to this on audiobook, but then bought a physical copy because it's that good, and because my girlfriend doesn't really listen to audiobooks, and I was like, you have to read this, so we bought it. And it's the story of this mother, Jen, who her son just turned 18, and she looks out her window one day, like on his 18th birthday, and sees him like murder someone. And it's basically just kind of, she then wakes up the next day and she's like a day back in time, and each day she keeps like going back in time, and she's like, I've got to like stop this. Like that's what she kind of decides is why she's doing this. And it's just really cool. It's like a mystery thriller, but it also has this like sci-fi time travel kind of element, like, and I love a good time loop. I love time travel. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, so you know, I just absolutely loved it. It made me cry. The relationships in here are so beautiful. Like she's such a cool like protagonist, and yeah, I just really loved it. Number 7 is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. He is a poet, so it's very poetic, and it's all written as a letter basically to his mother. They are Vietnamese American. They like after like the wars and everything, they leave Vietnam and they end up here, and it's not autobiographical, but like I was reading his Wikipedia page, and like a lot of these things are true. Like the main character is gay, and the main character is Vietnamese, and the main character lived in Hartford, which is like all true of Ocean Vuong. But yeah, it's just obviously it's so beautiful. There's a couple like triggering things, so I would look that up. But it was just really beautifully written, and I don't know, I like reading books sometimes that are not written in like the traditional kind of prose style. I mean, it's still prose, but it's poetic prose. Number 6 is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone, which is a science fiction book, and it's basically red and blue, and they're like traveling through time and writing letters, and they're like enemies, but it's a love story, and it's just so beautiful. And I really had no idea what it was going into it outside of like, it's a sapphic sci-fi romance or whatever, and I was like, okay. And then I just absolutely loved it. I was like, it's all told through letters basically, and here I am like crying over these characters like love story. And yeah, it's just absolutely stunning. And I mean, it's like less than 300 pages. Yeah, less than 200 pages. So it's like so easy to read. Couldn't put it down once I started it. It's absolutely unreal. Then in the top 5, which originally had This Is How You Lose the Time War in it, and then I finished another book today and was like, no, this is my top 5. So sorry. So yeah, so number 5 is When He Was Wicked by Julia Quinn. I had to put a Bridgerton book here because those books were so like vital to me, like rediscovering my love of reading and like everything that I'm doing here. Like I wouldn't have a YouTube channel if it wasn't for Bridgerton. So, and When He Was Wicked is the best one. Fact, not opinion. No, I'm kidding. Like this just has like all the tropes I love. I love Francesca and Michael. It's friends to lovers. It is the only one where it's not like the main character isn't a virgin. So it's not like the sex scenes when it's like historical romance on their wedding night are just like the man being like, this is gonna hurt, and her being like, oh my god, is it? And then it's like, ooh, it didn't even hurt that bad, even though he's so big. Like, okay, we get it. And like usually I just like overlook it, but like this was good. And like I don't really read romance novels for like the steam, really. It's complicated. I'm like, I like the romance that is inherent in the steam, I think, you know, like they go hand in hand to me in a really good romance novel. That it's like the sex scenes should be telling you more about the characters and about the way they relate, and I feel like that's what I'm looking for, and these definitely do. And it's so good. Read the Bridgerton books just to get to this one. Like skip all the other ones if you want, just read this one. 'one. 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 ' out of my top 5, it's Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. Oh my god, like amazing, so good. And I really didn't, I knew it was gonna be good, but Richard Osman, he's like a British, he does like all the things over there. Like I've seen him on like Would I Lie to You and QI, and I think he hosts his own show. I can't remember which one it is. I haven't, oh, the Richard Osman's House of Games? Is that right? If it's wrong, maybe I'll put the name here, or we'll just pretend I'm right. I'm not British. How am I supposed to know? Anyway, Richard Osman, love him. And this is basically like a book club, but a murder club in a retirement community in the south of England. And they basically like, they kind of like look over old cold cases and like pretend they're gonna solve them, and you know, all that kind of stuff, try and solve them. It's just like fun little stuff. And then one day there's like a murder that like affects them basically, and like then there's like it's so great. And there's like there's like a cop in it who like I love, and like actually both kind of like the detectives are really great that they kind of get some outside help from. All the characters, like they're all like in their 70s and 80s and are just like so badass, and it makes me like not scared to like get old or like end up in a retirement community, because it's just like they have these amazing friendships, and like yeah, it's just they have this little club and they travel around with their friends, and they just like, I don't know, Elizabeth is the best, Joyce is just hilarious and so sweet, and I'm like, I love my grandparents obviously, but like my grandparents would never be in a murder club. But yeah, I was like crying. I literally like finished it and I just sat there and like sobbed because it was just so beautiful, and like I can't believe that this book exists, that just something so beautiful that just I feel like kind of changes your whole view on like aging and what it means to like get old, and takes a lot of the fear out of it. And yeah, it's really just about family and friends and all of that, and I just think it's really beautiful. So highly recommend. And the mystery is really good. I had literally no idea. And then top 3. So I don't have my number 3, but it's And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which is these people go to an island, stay in this fancy house, invited there by like a mysterious rich person, and then one by one they start dying. And it's like, oh my god, there's nobody else here. Who's killing everybody on the island? It's very kind of, you know, like, it's kind of like the premise of Clue, like the 80s movie, but obviously done way different and not a comedy. But yeah, so it's just so good, and it was my first Agatha Christie, and I just feel like it's so like genre defining, like the fact that I'm able to like name like other things, and if I sat here and thought more, there are other ones, you know, like that kind of have that same vibe. It's so good, and it's just so well written, and all the characters, like every time I was like, this person did it, and then they die next, and I'd be like, okay, starting over. And yeah, it's just so good, and I love mysteries, classic kind of mysteries, and that was such a good, like, so well done. The number 2, I have Normal People by Sally Rooney. This is a copy I just got, so I don't have my library book. I have an actual copy because I love it that much that I need it to read whenever I want. This tells the story of Connell and Marianne, who live in Ireland, and they meet like when they're in high school, whatever, you know, secondary school, and like they're kind of like friends, but like she's kind of like a loser, and she has no friends, and he's like kind of popular, and they kind of end up becoming friends, and then entering into like a friends with benefits situation, but he still like won't be seen with her at school, and that's kind of where it starts. And then it just kind of follows them from that and from, you know, kind of the very high school fallouts of that through university, where like Marianne finally is able to like blossom and everybody's like, Marianne's so cool and smart, which like, yeah, Marianne is so cool and smart. And they find each other again and they always kind of come back together. And I think there are like two main criticisms of this book and of Sally Rooney in general. She doesn't use quotation marks, which is stylistically kind of tough to get into. I feel like you're either like fine with that or you're not. But I had read, at the end of last year, I read The Gallows Pole by Benjamin Myers, which is a historical novel that also doesn't use quotation marks. And I'm like, if I can get through that, I can get through anything. Like, this is using words I've never seen in print before and no quotation marks, so, you know. And then nothing really happens. It's just kind of vibes. It's just the story of their relationship and the story of two people who are kind of damaged and mentally ill and just, you know, young and trying to figure it all out, but they are genuinely like best friends. They are the most important people in each other's lives, and just this idea that like meeting this one person and having this one experience like changes your whole life, and that when you're 17 you don't even realize that. And since I was lucky enough to meet the person that I've spent my life with at 18, I'm really drawn to that idea that like you don't even realize like what kind of impact your messy little teenage decisions can have on the rest of your life. And it's crazy to think about like where you would be without this person, and how maybe this person hurt you so much, but also like maybe they're your soulmate, and maybe you will continue to find each other again forever until you finally have both had enough therapy that you can make it work. But yeah, absolutely love it. I think if you know what it is, that it's just kind of no plot, just vibes, you can also really love it. And then my #1 book of the year, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, a dark academia book, follows Alex Stern as she gets kind of accepted to Yale, and she's like, she grew up like very poor, kind of wrong side of the tracks, you know, like that kind of vibe, and is basically like told like, hey, after this really traumatizing night, she's told like, someone comes to her and is like, hey, full ride to Yale, you just have to join this like secret organization, secret society, Lethe, I think is how it's pronounced. The internet tells me all sorts of different things, but yeah. And the reason she is invited to do that is because she can see ghosts, and which they call grays. So basically the whole point of Lethe is to like watch the other societies, because Yale has all these secret societies, that's real, and make sure they're not like doing bad things with magic. And it's basically like magic is real and ghosts are real and all this kind of stuff. And there's like two kind of timelines following Alex and this other character Darlington, and leading up to like this big night where like Darlington disappeared. And yeah, it's so good. It's so, all the characters are so likable. The mystery is so good. I'm absolutely obsessed with it, and obsessed with her writing style. And they're making like a Amazon Prime series, and I'm like, I need that now. So yeah, so that was great. And the sequel comes out in like 2 weeks, I think, a week. So I will be reading that, and I hope that it is as good as this. I think it will probably be even better. So yeah, that was my top 10 books of the year. Yeah, I'm very happy with how many books I read and everything. And I don't know, I think there were a lot of times this year where like it felt like it was hard to read, I don't know, and I still kind of persevered through it. There are plenty of times where I would have like given up in other years, where I would have been like, it takes too much brain power to read right now. But I was like, you know, like, yeah, it takes a lot of brain power, but it also makes me really happy. So I'm really proud of myself for doing that, and for hitting my goals, and for finding so many amazing books, and for reading things that I never would have read before. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video and for watching any of my other videos and enjoying my little channel in any way in this year. Yeah, I had fun, and my goals here aren't to like become like a big booktuber. That kind of freaks me out. Like, I love the idea of just having like a couple people who we watch each other's videos and comment and everything, and like have a little space where I can talk about books. And yeah, so thanks so much for watching, and like and subscribe and tell me your favorite books of the year.